गुड आफ्टरनून, नमस्कार व्यूअर्स। मैं कृति वढेरा जुड़ चुकी हूँ आप सभी के साथ और आप हमें देख रहे हैं पीएमई विद्या के चैनल नंबर 12 पर। ये जो सेशन है ये स्टैंडर्ड 12 में पढ़ने वाले सभी साइकोलॉजी के स्टूडेंट्स के लिए रहेगा और आपकी टेक्स्ट बुक का चैप्टर 3 मीटिंग चैलेंजेस ऑफ लाइफ पे आज हम 1 घंटा डिस्कशन करेंगे आप सभी के साथ, जिसमें हम बहुत सारे आयाम जो स्ट्रेस के हैं उस पर आज बात करेंगे। एक बहुत खास एक्सपर्ट हमें आज ज्वाइन कर रही हैं। मैं आप सभी से इंट्रोडक्शन कराना चाहूंगी मिसेस सुनीला जी का। आप बीजीएस इंटरनेशनल स्कूल द्वारका से हैं। सुनीला जी, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आज के इस लाइव इंटरेक्शन प्रोग्राम के लिए।
थैंक यू।
और आज के सेशन को हम व्यूअर्स आपके लिए ओपन करें और उस बीच में आपके अगर कोई सवाल हो तो हमसे ज़रूर साझा करके हमें बताएं। नंबर रहेगा हमारा टोल फ्री जिस पे आप डायल करके हमें बता सकते हैं 8800440559। और अगर इस प्रोग्राम की आप लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग देखना चाहते हैं तो एनसीईआरटी के ऑफिशियल यूट्यूब चैनल पर जाएं जिसका नाम है एनसीईआरटी ऑफिशियल, और वहां आप लाइव चैट बॉक्स में भी अपने सभी सजेशंस और क्वेश्चंस हमें भेज सकते हैं। हम पूरी कोशिश करेंगे आपके भेजे गए सभी सवाल ने अपने एक्सपर्ट के साथ उनको आज इस चर्चा में लेकर आएं। एक और जरिया है जिसके थ्रू आप हमसे बात कर सकते हैं। अपने सवालों को dth.class12@ciet.nic.in पर भी आप मेल कर सकते हैं। चलिए, वक्त तो चला है आज के सेशन को शुरू करने का। सुनीला जी, एक बार फिर से स्वागत करूंगी आपका। मीटिंग चैलेंजेस ऑफ लाइफ, स्ट्रेस, मुझे लगता है हमारे आपके सभी से जुड़े हुए एक ये टॉपिक है स्ट्रेस। और टेक्स्ट बुक के चैप्टर में हमने इसको ज़रूर सम्मिलित किया है, तो मैं चाहूँगी पहले आप एक डिस्कशन आज स्टैंडर्ड 12 के सभी बच्चों के साथ कर लें, फिर हम इसको ओपन कर देंगे हमारे सभी व्यूअर्स के सवालों के लिए।
थैंक यू
जी।
Dear students, so session is about chapter 3 of our NCERT Meeting Life Challenge. And after this session, you will be able to understand the meaning of stress, nature of stress, sources of stress, and types of stress. So now it is the time that we start understanding about actually what is the meaning of stress. So children, this word stress has its origin in the Latin word strictus, which means to feel tightened or narrow, and stringier, the verb which means to tighten. So during our lifetime, generally we study subjects which are of importance from the curriculum point of view. But this chapter it throws light on understanding what can be the reasons of the stress and what can be the reasons of reactions. Why there is difference between different individuals. Why some people feel a lot of stress and others don't. So let's look at the definition of stress. Stress is the pattern of responses an individual makes to a stimulus event that disturbs the equilibrium and exceeds a person's ability to cope. This definition has a lot of meaning into it, and let's understand it deeply now. It is written here that stress is a pattern of response and not stimulus. So why sometimes we hear that people are saying, it is nowadays most frequently used word that I am feeling stressed, I am feeling stressed. So sometimes we think that it is a stimulus. Suppose let's take an example. Sometimes children say that exam is coming, exam is the stress. But exam is not a stress. Why? Because let's look from the perspective of two students. One student who has done meticulous planning, who has been consistent throughout the year, and who has taken proper notes, and who has done self-study. So exam is not a stress for him or her. But let's look from the perspective of another student who has started studying quite late and who has missed taking some notes, and there are some other issues because of which he feels stressed when the exam is coming. So exam is same for both. It is a stimulus, but we are seeing the differences in the responses of the students here. So this makes us very clear that stress is not a stimulus, but it is a response. That is why it is different from different people, and there is a lot of subjectivity involved in the perception of stress. Let's move forward and understand what is the nature of stress. There are lots of differences in the perception of stress. So it will be more clear when we understand that there is one model given by Lazarus and his colleagues. They said that the perception of stress is dependent upon individuals' cognitive appraisal of the events and the resources available with them. So the stress process is based on the cognitive theory of stress. Now let's understand the cognitive theory of general model of stress given by Lazarus and his colleagues. Lazarus says that when a person is encountered in a situation which is giving himself or herself stress, so they try to appraise, they try to evaluate the situation, and they feel that there are two types of appraisal. First one is the primary appraisal, and the second one is secondary appraisal. What happens in primary appraisal? Suppose there is a situation. So person perceives from the new or changing environment in three types. He either evaluates the situation as either positive or neutral or negative in its consequences. Suppose he feels that the situation has a positive effect on him or her, then definitely he is not going to feel any stress and he will just enjoy the situation. In the situation of neutral appraisal of stress also, there is not much stress involved. But when the person feels that this situation, let's say for example, exam or relocation to another country or state, or an adult getting married. So there are different types of situations. If they appraise the situation as negative in its consequences, then they feel stressed. So when there is negative appraisal of the situation, what an individual thinks like, they appraise it in three ways. We can see it on the screen that the three ways are threat, harm, and challenge. So let's take an example. One student is going, he lives in North India and he is shifting to VIT South India for purpose of study. Then let's see how he will evaluate this situation. Suppose he had a chance to go to South India earlier also, maybe for some vacation purposes, and when he was traveling in the train, there was some theft or there was some kind of nausea feeling he had when he was traveling. So he will try to remember that situation, and this will comprise of the harm. So when a situation is faced by a person in the past also, so they evaluate in those terms. They will think about the damage that situation had already done to them. Okay, but it is not necessary that the student must have had the same experiences earlier. So they may have the fear of some future damage that the event can impose upon them. So the student who is shifting to South India may feel that there are some fears, there are some apprehension in his or her mind that he may have some kind of language barrier, he may have difference in the climate, there may be some more rains, there may be more humidity, while in North India he must have been very extreme cold also, extreme summer also, so there is difference in the climate also. So he will try to evaluate if it is having some kind of threat in the future. If he feels that yes, there are some threats, then they may have stressful feelings in their mind. Then comes the third factor, that is challenge. If the student feels that he is quite confident, he has friends in the South India, and maybe he has traveled 2-3 times earlier also, so he feels that okay, I will be able to handle this situation, then he may not feel stressed about it. So this is all about the primary appraisal, means when the person thinks about, appraise about, and evaluate the whole situation. After the primary appraisal, there is secondary appraisal. Then when the person has completely thought about all the pros and cons of going to South India, then comes the secondary appraisal, which is the assessment of one's coping ability and resources, and whether they will be sufficient to meet the harm, threat, or challenge of the events. So, these resources can be of different kinds. Let's continue with our earlier example. When the student was traveling to South India for the continuation of studies, higher education, then he may have, mental support. What kind of mental support he may have? He may surf on net. He may talk to many people who have been there earlier, or who are having relatives. So he may have mental support. He will try to find out a cozy place by asking some people who are already living there, or by surfing on net, and he arranges everything that will help him in their physical, domain. Then he may, counsel himself. Then he may get counseling. He may talk to more people, or the agencies who are counseling students when they are going for their studies. So he may, gather some kind of personal resources also. Or maybe the person is confident enough and he feels, okay, now I have done enough research, now I have resources with me. And social resources are, when someone has friends and, family and other people who are there in the support. So when a person has mental, physical, personal, or social support, they feel more confident and they feel less stressed. So this is about, the fix. There is some more things that have been covered by Lazarus. These appraisals are subjective and they depend on many other factors, such as past experiences. There are differences in the feeling or the appraisal, because some people have had some negative past experiences. If some person has had a very positive experience, maybe they had a wonderful journey, they have wonderful memories of their journey when they had gone to South India, they may feel so happy and confident about it, and they will not feel stressed. There is another factor, that is controllability. Controllability, let's take another example. When a class 12 student has to appear for class 12 boards, they know well in advance that they have 1 year to study, they have whole 1 year for planning. So there is a controllability, and they feel more confident and stress is less. But when a person is filling up a form of, say, civil services or IELTS or some other exam, about which they are not very much aware that when can the exam date be announced, they may have a lot of stress until and unless the date is announced. So there is a factor of controllability also, which contributes in one person's developing stress. Let's move further. Apart from the cognitive model of whatever we have just talked about, primary appraisal and secondary appraisal, there are some other characteristics of stress as well, which affects a person being stressed or not. Let's look at them now, one by one. They are intensity, duration, complexity, and predictability. Let us take one example for intensity. Suppose one person has, there are two people and they have different illnesses. One is having, cancer, and one is having common cold and cough. So you can understand that one who's having cancer is having more intensity of stress rather than the person who's having this common cold and cough. Duration, it is yet another very important aspect in someone feeling stressed. One person who had whole life of struggle, suppose they were having financial crunch, they were having no one with them to support them mentally. So they will feel more stress because they have experienced stress for whole life. And let's take another example, like one student who has to appear for boards or some kind of exam. They know that the durability of this stress is 1 year or 6 months. Then this duration will cause less duration as compared to the person who felt a lot of stress during whole life course. Now let's come to another factor, that is complexity. So complexity also tells a lot about stress. Now, suppose one person has just one illness and they are having a lot of funds, lot of support, and they get hospitalized and they get well soon after some time. But then there is one person who gets ill and who is short of funds and who is not able to get the facilities of hospitals regularly, and he just gets OPD. So the person, his problems are more complex because there is not just one factor like illness involved. So his problems are complex because he's having so many struggles, so many issues. So that is why his stress is more complex as compared to the one who is very affluent but was able to recover. So next factor that affects whether one will feel stressed or not is predictability. When one is able to predict that suppose one person is going to marry his daughter after, say, let's take an example, she's just 21. So they can predict that they would be needing some kind of fund, or they can have some serious requirement of funds after 3-4 years. But when a person gets injured in an accident and they all of a sudden need funds for their treatment, so it is very unpredictable stress that has come to a person. So a person who was not planned, who never knew that he would require so much of funds, definitely that person will feel more stress. Now, let's come to types of stress. Kriti, have you heard about eustress earlier?
No, I guess I have not heard about eustress, you said.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you itself what it is.
Yeah. So actually, eustress and distress. This is also one way of describing different types of stress, and there is one more way of describing that we will come on later.
Okay.
So eustress is good stress. It makes you feel so energetic, and it makes one person take steps for achieving their goal, and they feel very enthusiastic that yes, no matter what, I'm going to do it. If the anxiety level is not very high and they are able to make it up, so it is called eustress. And then
stress could be good as well, Mrs. Sunila, if you're explaining it that way itself, that stress can also be categorized as that it is good.
Yeah, you got it correct. So when one person is enthusiastic, energetic, and they feel that yes, they are capable of taking some plans, it is called good stress or eustress.
Okay.
But there comes a time when they feel that the demands are exceeding and they are not able to cope with it, and they are not able to do planning. So it becomes distress. Now let's take a look at stress curve. It is very interesting topic. On the x-axis you are seeing stress level, and on the y-axis there is performance. So when one person is having less stress, if you can look at my mouse pointer, so when there is too little stress or the person feels under load, so the person is still inactive and laid back, but when it is increasing, stress level is increasing, and the person feels that okay, I will be able to do it. There may be fatigue, but he is trying to optimize his performance. Here in this peak, the performance will be optimum because the stress is also moderate, say in the center. But when the stress is exceeding more and more here, like if we had numbers here, maybe 50 in the center, and it is 60, 70, 80, if it is increasing, stress is increasing, the person feels exhausted. He feels a lot of anxiety, panic, anger, and no matter how much he's trying to resist, but he breaks down. And burnout is when a person feels complete exhaustion, mentally, physically, psychologically, and the person's performance decreases. So the stress curve is inverted U-shaped curve, which says that when the stress is low, the performance is very low. But when slowly the stress increases and gets moderate, the person also gets attentive, aroused, takes steps and performs optimally. but when it increases further, it affects performance negatively. So this was one way of telling about types of stress. There is one more way which tells us how many different types of stress can be there. They are physical and environmental stress, psychological stress, and social stress. Let's look at them one by one now. Physical and environmental stress. There can be a lot of situations like when a person is exerting himself or herself physically a lot, when he is having a lot of physical strain, or maybe there is one person who is having lack of nutritious diet, so it also comes under physical stress. When some person suffers an injury, or when they are not able to get enough sleep, so all these factors comes under the domains of physical type of stress. Now let's look towards what kind of what are factors which contribute to environmental stress. All the factors related to air pollution or noise or the heat of summer or extreme winter cold comes under the domain of environmental stress. There is one very interesting word written here, crowding. So the meaning of crowding is not a lot of crowd somewhere. It means that it is very subjective, which means that when one person needs a lot of privacy and there are more people in that physical space, then he feels the effects of crowding. So this also comes under the environmental stress when one person is not having desired privacy. Other factors which come under environmental stress are catastrophic events or disasters such as fire, earthquake, flood, etc. We can imagine the effects of fire and earthquake. When some person survives such catastrophe, then definitely there is a loss of property, there is loss of loved ones, and lots of memories are involved in these catastrophes. So definitely it is going to exert a lot of stress on the person. Next comes the psychological stress. There are 4 factors which are included in this kind of stress. Let's take the first one, frustration. So when one person's needs and wants are blocked, and when he or she is not able to get that, the person is bound to feel frustrated. Imagine a young boy of 18 years of age, how much he wants to get one bike, and not a simple bike, maybe he wants a very expensive bike which has more gears and which is a perfect model, you can say latest model. So when he is not able to get it, that person is bound to feel frustrated. When one person wants to get a very expensive quality education that he wants in an institution, when he is not able to get admission to there, then he may feel stressed and he may feel frustrated. Then there is another factor called conflict, which can make one person stressed. Conflicts are when there are different options and one has to choose the best option. So if there is one student, he has studies also. He wants to listen to his favorite YouTube channel. Then there are some games, and then there are some people calling him out for coming out and playing. So then he has to choose what he can do, and time is less. Everyone knows that a student has always crunch of time, so he may feel a lot of conflicts and he will feel stressed. There are 2 types of pressures also which make one person stressed. One is external pressure. Everyone is aware, as we talk about student life, that from students we have a lot of expectations. Everyone knows that when their results are going to be announced, their neighbors, their relatives, everyone calls up and asks how much is the percentage. So this is kind of external pressure which is made upon to the student. That is why they may feel external pressure, and because of that they may feel psychological stress. But some people are very highly motivated intrinsically. They have lots of demands from themselves. They sometimes are perfectionists also. So they want to perform the best. So this is one sort of internal pressure which people make or expect from themselves. Many students who have the desire for perfect scores or who want to have very high percentile ranks in the competitive exams may have this kind of internal pressure which may lead to psychological stress. Another type of stress is social stress. Let's see what is social stress. And this is induced externally and results from our interaction. Here I would like to take differentiation between 2 points. In the earlier slide, we have seen that there is external pressure. So it is also related to society, which was made upon to us. And the next stress, that is the social stress, it is also because of society. But the social stress is not about expectations. It is about the kind of stress which is a result of with interaction with other people. So social events like death or illness in the family, or if someone is feeling strained relationships, if there are a lot of fights on day-to-day basis, or there are some kinds of troubles with neighbors, they all contribute to produce social stress. Social stress also varies from person to person. There may be a person who loves to remain alone, who loves to be within his own company, and the same person is expected to attend a lot of parties because of the nature of the work. So he may feel that a lot of stress, getting ready all the time to show his best foot forward. It can also lead to some kind of social stress for one person who loves his own privacy. And there can be one more person who, wants to be very social, who wants to go out all the time, and he has to stay in isolation. So currently we are having pandemic, so many people are suffering from this stress also because they are feeling very isolated. They are feeling lack of interaction with other people. This is another type of.
Sunila ji, I was asking you this itself. I wanted to come on this itself that it has been more than a year now. We are into this pandemic time, and social gathering. These social gatherings have also been constrained to, let's say, a gathering of maybe 50 people in weddings or in birthday parties. So in a way, the social gatherings which were happening have been hampered by this pandemic. So people around us are having this social stress. That is what I wanted to ask from you.
Yeah. This is very true that because of the pandemic, the social interactions are restricted, and as we all know that human beings are social animals, we have needs for belongingness, needs for friendship, needs to meet and greet each other. So there is definitely a need for all these things. When I just told you about frustration earlier in the slides, so there is a presence of frustration also here. You can see that they want to attend marriages of their loved ones. They want to celebrate the festivals, and when they are not able to get it and they are excluded, so they are feeling, that is why we feel stressed, because frustration is there, conflict is there. Aloof. People are being alienated. They are being aloof. So we are experiencing all these stresses that we are discussing today.
Right, we all are going through this social stress. Yes, you may proceed with your PPT, Ms. Sunila.
Now let's, after discussing the types of stresses, let's discuss from where this kind of stress comes from. So there are majorly three sorts of sources that we can discuss here. You are looking at the pictures here that the student is feeling stressed, then some lady or maybe an adolescent girl is feeling stressed here. Then there is a mother of 2 kids who is having a lot of stress because of the multitasking, and then one person here working in the office who is having a lot of work to do. He has to attend to mobile and other intercom calls, and there are to-do lists. So these all contribute to the sources of stress. Let's discuss the first one, that is life events. Life events are the important milestones or important events of one person's life. Suppose someone is moving to a new house, and so they are having their memories with the old house. Maybe it belongs to their ancestors, and they are having a lot of good memories attached to the old house. So it gives people stress to detach themselves from old people, old house. Then there is a breakup of long-term relationship. It is a very important life event, and we all have felt it at some point of in our life. When someone gets a breakup, say from a relationship, or even when someone is going to get married, so it brings a lot of changes, in expectations, and a person has to really work hard, or when one person is relocating for education or for employment. So these are very important life events which makes one person, to feel some kind of stress. This happens because when we are in a routine, so we don't have to think much about what we are going to do the next. In an office where one person has worked for say 8 years or 10 years, everyone knows about the employee. Everyone knows that he is hardworking or what kind of past performance he has given. But when a person is shifting because of employment to another state or to some other physical office, then that person may have this stress, internal pressure, that he again has to build the rapport with the new employees. He again has to work very hard day and night to prove himself. So because of the lack of routine, because of the novelty feature, because of different like expectations, or when in case of breakup, we will say, have to do everything on our own. We cannot depend on others. So these are the factors which contribute to life events, and it creates a feeling of stress in the minds of people. Then there are hassles. Hassles, the meaning of this word hassle is that these are the daily life happenings, such as noisy surroundings. If someone is living in a house which has a lot of noisy surroundings, he or she is not able to study, focus, or there is a lot of music sound coming from every side, or maybe in the neighborhood, if there are some quarrelsome neighbors, then the that this creates disturbance in the mind of people. If someone has to commute long distances, we have seen that in Mumbai and Kolkata, people have to travel through locals, and they are a lot of sweat and lot of there is a lot of crowds in the daily locals. So if one has to daily commute in these transports, and the climate is very humid, so these kinds of things also contribute to stress. Then if there is a lot of power cuts in an area, or water is always short, and they have to be always worried about water is there today or not, or even the traffic snarls. If they are reaching late at home daily, then they may have fight with their family members. So these are the other factors which comes under hassles. Another factor that is very important related to hassles is that they affect negatively even more, because the person suffering is alone. The person who is suffering, only that person knows what he is going through, and no one else knows what he or she is going through. So that it becomes even more stressful. So after hassles, there is another factor, that is traumatic events, which contribute to stress. What is traumatic events? When some person has gone through some very bad incidences in his or her life, like fire, or maybe train or road accident sometime in their life, or they had robbery at their place, or maybe earthquake or tsunami. So these are the things which result in a post-traumatic stress disorder. The person may get flashbacks of and they may have nightmares, and they may all of a sudden they may wake up from the sleep, and they may having a lot of palpitations, nausea, high heart rate. So these are the main characteristic features of post-traumatic stress disorder. And these are so severe in their contribution towards someone feeling stressed that they may even require professional help. So these are also some of the types apart from eustress and distress. Now let's come to the next segment, that is effects of stress. Definitely, when we go through all these sources of stress, when we get stress and when we have less of the resources, no matter mental, social, personal or physical, we are bound to experience some kind of effects. Let's see what are these effects. There are major four effects: emotional effects, physiological effects, cognitive effects, and behavioral effects. Let's look at the emotional effects. Just imagine one person who has been to a community where lots of riots have taken place, or maybe they belong to a community which had experienced a lot of prejudice. So they may have, most frequently we may see that these kinds of experiences lead to the person's feeling a lot of mood swings, erratic behavior. Just imagine if one person has been for say 2 months in the bed because of some disease, then definitely they are bound to feel mood swings, erratic behavior, and again it becomes a vicious cycle of decreasing confidence. They may feel that now I am afraid of going out. I may get ill again. I may get something like some kind of infection, and they may feel that I don't have the same confidence that I had earlier. They may have feelings of anxiety and depression. They may, lie down in the bed and they may have constant thoughts of the same past that they have experienced. So emotional effects are which are expressed in the emotions of a person when they are, dealing in their day-to-day life with other people. They may get aggressive. They may get very short-tempered. Then another type of effects of stress is physiological effects. So when our body is under stress, when we are having some kind of physical illness or maybe some kind of quarrels with others or maybe lack of funds, there can be variety of stress. So under such physical and psychological stress, body produces certain hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones produce marked changes in the heart rate, blood pressure levels, metabolism, and physical activity, which helps definitely. But these physical reactions are damaging for the body in the long run. And examples of physiological effects are release of epinephrine, norepinephrine, slowing down of the digestive system. So when a person is under stress, he or she may experience their disturbed digestive system. They may have expansion of their air passages in the lungs. They may have increased heart rate and their blood vessels may get constricted. So these are some of the physiological effects of stress, which affects one person's bodily mechanisms. And because of that, they again may feel a lot of anxiety and depression. Then there are some cognitive effects, as the word suggests. Cognitive means related to mental processes. So when one person has been under serious stress, there may be some cognitive effects also. They may not be able to concentrate properly in their studies, in their work at workplace, and they may even feel, reduced short-term memory. They may forget some, selective parts of their day-to-day routine. They may again and again ask, have I done this? Have I bought it? I just don't remember. So their memory gets affected. And even when they are having a lot of stress, they feel that they are not able to take proper decisions in their life. They feel very much confused and they want someone's support in decision making when they have been under stress for long periods of time, and it is very much required. Now let's see the other effects that the stress can have on the behavior of people. When some persons have been under stress, they may start eating less nutritional. They may eat food which is not, contributing to good health. They may eat junk food because they feel good after eating it. So they may increase the intake of stimulants such as caffeine. So everyone has done this in their life when they had a lot of stress. Some people may take more tea. Some people may take more coffee. Some people are, they can even take cigarettes or alcohol or other drugs such as tranquilizers, because it gives them some kind of relief from their stress. No matter it is faulty learning, faulty ways, maladaptive ways of behaving, but under stress, people show these kinds of behaviors. Some people may show disruptive sleep patterns. They may lie down, but for hours they are not able to sleep. It may take them very long to sleep because they are stressed. They are having a lot of negative thoughts again and again. Then increased absenteeism. Some people may start avoiding their school, their workplace. They may not even feel like going to their workplace because they have stress and they feel that I'm not feeling my confident self, that I'm not feeling good, and they just take leaves more often. While other people may feel that they are not able to perform their best as they used to perform earlier. So these are some of the behavioral effects which are the results of stress. So this is all that I wanted to tell about stress today. Priti, I would like to take some questions after this.
And I would urge our viewers here who are watching us live on official YouTube streaming of NCRT Official, you may write your suggestions and questions in the live chat box, viewers, and we will be certainly having a discussion with our expert, Ms. Sunila ji, on the same. Sunila ji, now when we have discussed stress as a whole, I mean in all the perspectives which is given in the textbook. So what are your suggestions for 12th standard students? How do they have to, understand it and go for the examination when they'll be appearing?
Yes. Here I would like to say that when we were discussing about different types of stress, we saw that there is a lot of internal pressure as well as external pressure made upon us. So we have to actually, while the coping strategies we would be covering in the next session, but here it is important to understand that if we want to perform nicely and when your stressor is even predictable, when you know about it that you have to give board exams after 1 year, then you should plan and you should work in a way that does not exceed your demand. Initially I would like to add here that when we are talking about stress, so it sometimes disrupts with our it disrupts with our
Sunila ji,
yeah.
I really don't know whether this particular topic or term is in this chapter or not. You are the best just to tell this to us. Samya Singh, one of our viewer, wants to ask you, can hypothesis be wrong? So, is hypothesis used in this textbook or let's say in this chapter? If you could just say something on this.
Yeah, actually, homeostasis maybe you were talking about. Hypothesis is like when we assume something and on the basis of that we are doing some research.
Yeah.
So our hypothesis can be wrong also.
That is what I considered hypothesis as that when there are pre-assumptions of us and we are doing research on some kind of, material or text. So that is basically hypothesis, but I don't know if you could just guide the viewer that if he or she has used the correct term or not.
Yes. Maybe he meant to write homeostasis here.
Yeah.
That hypothesis is something that when we are making assumptions, but yes, if they are wrong, then we can still revise our research and we can again gather data and try to find out if it is the new hypothesis is true or not. But in the context of stress, when you had asked me the question about class 12 board students. So if they are consistent enough and they don't make, they are not perfectionists, if they are very realistic, so it is not going to exceed their homeostasis, and they may be able to find balance in everything. The input that is they are putting in daily, and they are getting the equal output. Then they will feel very confident. They will feel that why they will not feel stress is because they are homeostasis and there is a lot of balance that they feel. But again, they will feel stress when the demands made upon them are not being able to met. And definitely it will happen when someone is not consistent and they are not preparing from the beginning. So my suggestion to 12th class students is to be very much consistent so that they feel balance, their homeostasis is not exceeded and they don't feel stressed.
Right, so these were the tips to standard 12th students from our expert. Sunila ji, the chapter you just explained, I personally feel, as in the beginning I said, that it revolves around each of us. And all the viewers who are watching us, and you just quoted about pandemic also. So we also tend to go through all these stress levels?
Yes, definitely. When I was covering, physical and environmental stress and the psychological stress, a lot of happenings related to pandemic were coming to my mind. So I could relate that when one person is having corona and when they are having high fever and the antibodies are not in their body initially, so they face a lot of trouble because the body is fighting with the foreign body. So this is related to physiological stress, definitely. And when you are ill, you feel, you don't want to get up, you feel fatigued, you feel, do not feel like interacting with people. So it is again covering our psychological stress. You feel a lot of anxiety. Will I be able to get up again? I'm feeling so much of, weakness in the body. Will I be able to get the same strength again? Because it takes a lot of time to, recover. So it gives a variety of stress. If we literally look in the true sense of the word stress, that yes, it is environmental stress that we all are feeling, not only the students. So environmental stress we are feeling, psychological stress we are feeling, and it is related to pandemic. Yes.
Yes, absolutely, viewers. And as we discussed about the with the graph, the curve you said. So what will you say, Sunila ji? Initially, if we figure out that the curve you shown, if you could just discuss on the same,
Yes.
in regarding to our day-to-day lives.
Yes. Earlier I had made a relationship between stress level and performance.
Yeah.
Now, if I take it related to pandemic, if we try to relate the stress to that, so our body also works the same way. When there is there are many people that I have interacted with during this pandemic. There are few people who had very moderate disease of corona disease, but
Yeah.
some people who had severe, their lungs were infected more. So we can see if one person's body is infected with a coronavirus, foreign body, so their body also first shows some symptoms and they try to use the reserves of their own body to fight with the infection. Some people are there who were able to take medicine and their body develops antibodies and they quickly got recovered. So this is also again shown here that when it is increasing, our body is also increasing its work in fighting with the use of white blood cells, and their immunity is there in the body. Then they were able to recover. But there were some people, definitely the stress affects our immune system. There are some people who had been sick already, whose immunity was weak, and their body used all resources, but it could not fight. And some people, it took even longer time to recover.
Right.
Their, lungs got infected more because of the earlier stress that they had felt. Their immune system became weak because of the stress. So that is why
Right.
they were not able to recover.
But one should actually figure out in initial stage itself. I guess this session will be helping you viewers to figure out your stress and work on it in various ways. And I really thank Ms. Sunila ji for joining us today for this wonderful session.
Thank you so much, Prakriti.
And viewers, I would request you to maintain social distancing, get the vaccination done, and keep watching NCERT's resource material on PM eVIDYA. Thank you. Namaskar.